Hey, friends. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Feeling Saucy with DeAndre and Tymone.
Heck yeah. What's going on?
What's good,
We
my
did,
brother?
dude, episode 4.
Yeah, we're moving
Wow.
right along, you
We
know.
are week after week.
We are. It's crazy to think it's already been 4 episodes. I mean, it's been 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4
We've been at
weeks.
this 1 month.
Yeah, one full month. I feel good. I feel
Yeah,
good. I feel saucy.
I know it does feel really good. It's been a month already, but I've already been able to really tell a difference too, just
Hmm.
because it sets up the week so well and so much like strength to begin the week.
Yeah,
It's I'm excited. It's
I
just
am too.
it's
I
just
am
gonna
too.
build and build and build, and just all the feedback we're getting already.
I know. Like, y'all. The feedback I've been getting from just the conversations that we have to the things that we talk about to the impact that we leave on you guys went from viewing it and watching it and like the takeaways. Like someone messaged me the other day and like it was a quote of something I said on the show and I was like, what? Like I know this is so cool. Like I was
They
like,
were over
wow.
here like, let me flicker the light
Like,
for you.
flick the light, like, come on. It was, it just, that moment was just so amazing. And I'm just glad that we're getting that feedback. We're getting those followers, those viewers, those likes, those subscribes. It's not all about that, but it's just like the people that are joining this community, because y'all are our friends. And when you subscribe and you like and you're joining this community, we're just happy that you're here. And we're happy that we're able to be a part of a conversation that you want to hear and just also just real life topics. This is real stuff. This is our life. So how about that?
Yeah, I feel like it's really been allowing us also to kind of push. I know for myself, it's been really allowing me to like push myself to move myself forward too, just doing these episodes and hearing feedback
Hmm.
from our friends that are listening and
Hmm.
expressing how they feel about and how they want to hear more and things like that. It's really allowing me to see a different perspective.
Hmm.
And so I appreciate you guys saying the comments and everything that you are, because I really feel like I'm growing on that aspect too, because I am hearing everything that's going on.
Yeah, and also just like the constructive criticism, like y'all like make sure them sounds is good or make sure the lights look good or those little things like that is all a part of it. So thank you. If there's anything that you guys see that we could do better at, like let us know because this is something we plan on doing for a very long time. I don't plan on stopping until my body stops. So, and we're on the same journey. So, like,
We are.
until things change like this, we want this to be as excellent as it can, you know. But yeah. So, I say we jump right in.
Let's do it. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
So we're gonna have fun this week. This topic is a little bit. It's a controversial topic.
It's going to be a topic, all right.
It's gonna be a topic, all right. But just stay tuned, listen to it all because we're gonna have some fun with this one, and we're gonna leave you with some more wisdom, some more knowledge, and some. I guess we're both gonna leave with wisdom and knowledge about each other and more understanding. But also, you friends will be able to have something to take away too, which is really cool. So let's get into it,
Let's
shall
do
we?
it. I know, I totally forgot.
All right. So let's see here.
Yeah,
Shall,
so basically, we got some questions we're going to be going over, just asking each other, and um, you guys feel free in the comments and everything. You can
mm-hmm.
answer these questions too, because we do want to hear your thoughts, because you guys are a part of this conversation too. So just let us know how you feel if you are comfortable with it.
So I feel like we should mention our topic for
Yeah.
the evening. Okay. So the topic of today's episode is more than a sexual orientation. So more than a sexual orientation. So first question, just to get the ball rolling, is how we were raised to think versus how we think now. How we were raised to think versus how we think now under the umbrella of sexual orientation. You take a second to think and then answer. Mm,
How we were raised to think
versus how we
versus
think now.
how we think now.
Yeah. I got a thought. Should I jump in?
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right. I'll say for me, um, growing up in a black community, um, with a black family and a very Christian family, when I think of sexuality, I think of heterosexuality. Like that was what was okay. That was what was cheered. That was what was, somewhat normal. So anything in the LGBTQ community um, was frowned upon in my family. So I knew as a kid, like, to be gay is to be disassociated with God. It's an admonishment, is what they would say. I think the Bible would say like it's an admonishment, like all these things, like, and it was so frowned upon. Also, it was looked at as a choice, and that's not true for a lot of people, or truly anyone. It's not a choice. Um, and so, like growing up, it was really hard for me. Actually, it wasn't hard for me until I started to explore um, who I am, not sexuality itself, but just who I am as a person. And then once I started to figure out who I am as a person, then I started to lean into like what my sexuality is as well.
Hmm.
Because as a kid, like you're just a kid, and you just know, okay, mom says that's not okay, or dad says it's not okay, or whoever says that's not cool, you don't do it. You can't play with Barbie dolls, so you don't play with them. I don't know why, but like I just was taught you don't play with those dolls. Like so, just it's one of those things where it's like versus how I was taught to think. I was taught to think that boys had to dress a certain way, look a certain way, have certain colors, present themselves a certain way, put some bass in your voice. I couldn't cry about certain things because I'm acting like a girl. So I had to, act like a boy, and I had to learn that like this is how boys act and things like that. And that was always hard because I mean, I remember being a kid, like, hey, I'm just a kid, I'm sad, but like, I
Hmm.
always had to remember, like, toughen up, like, don't let anybody be crying over nothing stupid like that. Like, oh, you fell because you were riding a scooter and you scraped your leg. All right, you're all right, get up, you're fine, you're a boy. But a girl, oh, come here, baby. Like, you get all the loves and kiss the boo boos, And so, like, I never, like, it was always that difference for me growing up.
Hmm.
And so I was always taught that I got to be strong no matter what. I can't show signs of weakness. I can't show signs of pain. Like I have to toughen up because that's what boys do. Um, and I didn't see men be vulnerable growing up in my life. I didn't have a lot of men in my life. Honestly, I was raised by women, but the few men that were around my life, a few uncles and whatnot, grandfather here and there, dad and his brothers and whatnot. Like I never saw true vulnerability. Um, so I didn't know how to be vulnerable as a kid. Now, versus how I think now, well, I've grown up. I've had experiences. I've learned that the world is not that black and white. Obviously, I mean, I now am a bisexual man, and I'm living in my truth. And I had to come to find myself and then find that out about myself. So how I think now is I just think that we're living in a world now where more people are not afraid to be who they are,
Hmm.
not afraid to discover who they are, not afraid to tap into the pool of, I just want to challenge what I was taught or challenge what I was raised to believe. Even if you're not a part of the LGBTQ community, there's a lot of people that are allies of the community because they understand that they just have the understanding that like it's not always exactly how you were raised to think or taught. Like for some people it is different, and we're not in those people's skin, but we do love these people and they're being authentic and they're being true to who they are. And so it's just like accepting that, just accepting people, um, and it's just changed the world that we live in. I remember in 2010, I want to say it was 2010, I was sitting on the couch with my grandmother and we were watching the news, and they were talking about gay rights,
Hmm.
and they were talking about gay marriage, and they legalized gay marriage. And I remember, oh man, that was a big deal in Portland, Oregon. Like there were either people that were for it or there were people that were strongly against it. And I think we were the second state or second or third state to legalize gay marriage in the United States here in Portland. So that was a big, big, big deal. Um, and then you start to see more people. You start to see more people queer. You start to see more lesbian people. You start to see more gay people. You start to see like, I mean, they were always there. I mean, from the beginning of time, we were always here. Like we bring the color and the flavor to the world. We were always here. Some of us in our church choirs. uh, but going deeper, it's what I've realized is that we start to see more people come out and be and live their lives, and what it did for me as a kid growing up, like I was being raised and taught a certain thing, but I was seeing the world differently, and I was seeing the world progress.
Mhm.
And so it made me, as a young child growing up and becoming a person, kind of like curious. I would question things, you know. I would always want to know, like, why is that, or why am I not supposed to, or is this not okay, or why? I just always had a why in me,
Mhm.
and I couldn't rest until I figured out the why. So I think, you know, that answers question one for me. Saying it again, um, how we were raised to think versus how we do now. What about you, bro? What's your
Man,
thoughts?
I would say honestly, I never really I think growing up and everything, I never really thought in that perspective.
hmm
Like it never really crossed my mind that you can like the same sex
hmm
orientation. Um, but I would say growing up and it never really like I mean, I was told like, hey, toughen up, stop crying, like
Yeah.
you're good, but I never really had like that conversation.
Okay.
So kind of growing up, I was raised a lot leading from young age all the way up until I moved in with my mom for eighth grade, leading up during those from like sixth up to eighth grade. I was raised by my dad.
Mm.
Um, and with my dad, I was also raised by my grandma, his mom. So I spent a lot of time with them. Um, my grandma, she was really into church
Mm.
um, and everything. And I think growing up, there's some things that I experienced growing up to where I just felt like I needed to be tough through.
Mm.
Um, kind of like the previous episodes that we talked about, like the
hmm
racism and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that started in like third grade.
Mm.
So it came down to where like I need to be tough because I need to be able to hold my ground.
hmm
Um, but I never really thought about like I wasn't really looking or like curious about relationships or anything like that until really honestly high school. To be honest with you,
Mm.
I really just had no thought process of a relationship, so it didn't really cross my mind. I was just
You're
so
just a kid.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think just I know growing up and everything, experiencing those times where like you'd be with siblings and then you'd make each other upset. My dad never really. I think I remember one time I got. I think I broke a bowl. I didn't think I did. I broke a
I
bowl and
think
I
I
think I
did.
got scared and so I started crying.
Okay.
Um, and then I kind of like trotted off into the room and started crying and everything like that. But I think it was more of like from being scared because I thought I was going to get my ass whooped.
Mm.
Versus, um, and I sat in my room for a while, and then I came back out and I was like, "Hey, Dad, can I ride the motorcycle?" And he was all like, "No, because you're in there crying for so long." So I don't think for me, it's not really me like taking that as him being tough. It's more of like you have to learn to control your emotions,
Mm.
um, and learn to kind of guide your emotions. And it wasn't me really kind of thinking like, "Oh, well, how come I have to feel this way?" Because I think my sister grew up similarly.
Okay.
So it was the same as my dad was to me, he was to my sister.
hmm
Same that he was to my sister and me, he was to our other It was primarily my sister and I. My sister's about a year and a half older than I am. Most of the time, we had our two younger brothers with us for a little bit, but then they went with their mom. But really, the way I was treated, she was treated too.
Okay.
I got in trouble, I got my ass whooped. She got in trouble, she got her ass whooped just as bad. So I didn't really see any difference. And I do know when it came to like my grandma and stuff, that was more of just respecting women because a lot of the time my grandma was sitting there, she was cleaning, she was cooking, like she was maintaining the house. And so like in my perspective, I saw that women would sit there and kind of help maintain the house. And then the guys were out there doing all like the gritty work and like stuff like that, but they were still united in a way. Like seeing my grandma, my grandpa, my grandpa would be out there doing yard work and doing all kinds of things while my grandma was doing all the inside work, but they still helped each other out around the house, still helped like financially and stuff like that. But there wasn't really much, I didn't see much separation. So I didn't really see too much of how that looked as a kid, but now as an adult, I see it a lot more. I do remember when it became legal.
Yeah.
I do remember that. And I think I'm not really, I think it's nice, you know, I feel like people should be able to be themselves, you know?
Exactly. I agree.
They should be able to love the people who they want to love regardless of how they identify and everything like that, you know?
I want to challenge one thing you said. Love the people who they want to love. I think it's love who they love. Because like love is a feeling.
Yeah.
You know, I don't choose to love, you know, it just happens, you know. I think that, you know,
yeah,
I didn't choose to love fried chicken.
Well, I think that's what that's that's what
I love it though, but you know, I didn't choose it. You know, it
Yeah.
loves me back. You know,
Yeah.
it's crunchy, it's good, it's fried. You know, like
But that's what I kind of think of when I say it.
yeah.
Is allow people to love who they do love. But I'm trying to put it into words. This topic I don't really talk a whole lot about. So
Yeah.
it's like questions I haven't been asked and stuff like that. So you know, it's kind of new.
All right, let me hit you on one. You ready?
All right.
Did your family talk to you about sexuality as a kid growing up? Like as a boy, did they try to steer you a certain direction? Like, hey, when you grow up, you're going to find a wife and it's going to be like this and it's going to be like that? Or did they ever talk to you about sex? Did they ever teach you like anything about like that part of just becoming a person, becoming an adult, becoming a man? Did they instill any instructions in your life or lean you a certain direction? Were you, if you had a sister that played with dolls, were you okay to play with them too with them? Like, what was that like for you? Because I mean, obviously you turned out a straight man today. And so that's just a part of who you are. That is who you are. But like growing up, like were you ever informed of other people that didn't look like you or your family?
A little bit. Like I had the talk
Okay.
about sex with my dad. He gave me that talk before I went to my mom, before I moved away, and especially with my dad being black, my mom's white, so he really wanted to go from like a man perspective and then kind of from like a black perspective too.
Nice.
I would say outside of that, really not a whole lot. I know when like my sister, she would have friends over. It was more of like they would be doing like I don't know what they would be doing really, honestly. My sister was into Bratz.
Okay.
So she played a lot with Bratz. I had wrestlers.
Okay.
So I played a lot with wrestlers, but I was just into wrestling with my brother. There were times where I mess around with my sister and everything, but it didn't really like catch my attention a whole lot. I did it more to spend time with her. I was more focused on school, basketball, just playing outside. Really, I was taught as a kid like you're a kid, play outside. So honestly, I just spent all my time outside.
Yeah.
A lot of time my sister was inside, but I didn't really think too much of what she was doing or anything like that. I think it's just because I was so engaged, but kind of answer your
Yeah.
question, I didn't really have much conversations in regards
Conversations
to that.
about
I
it.
kind of just went with.
Did you ever like ask questions to them? Like, or did you ever have a friend that, was obviously a part of the LGBTQ community of some sort, you know, like, or anything like that, that where it's like, oh, like, this is different, like, did that ever,
Mm,
and like, because just trying to like dig deeper and kind of get an understanding of like
yeah,
the switch,
yeah.
like what you thought then to what you think now.
No, I don't think I know.
Because if you never had a thought then, that's fine too.
Yeah,
It sounds like you grew up, I wouldn't say normal, but you just grew up in a household where it wasn't like hammered on you. You
yeah,
just were allowed to be a kid and allowed to just grow up and allowed to just become. And that's awesome. Some people don't get that. Some people are hammered to be a certain way. Like, you're going to be like this, you're going to live like this. We will disown you if you do these things. Like that happens to some people. So it's just, I ask those questions just to get a better understanding of what life was like for you,
yeah.
and also to show our friends that like this is what a healthy conversation looks like. It looks like this. So
Yeah. No, I was never like geared towards living my life a certain way.
okay.
I was geared. If I was geared at all, like it was more of like respect your elders,
Hmm.
have respect for others, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Amen. There we go.
Um,
Bingo.
I was, I was
There we go.
just raised to do everything the best you can. I was raised on a business mindset, so
Yeah.
create a business, create something with your name on it
Hmm.
because you're going to be building somebody else's.
Hmm.
So I was doing business, candy business, third, fourth, fifth grade out of my backpack and stuff like that, hustling. We talked about that on the previous
Yeah.
episode, but I was never really like told, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. I was able to kind of just be myself, but I was at the same time, if I was told how to live, it was more of like as an adult.
Hmm.
So I was kind of being chipped away to how you need to be as an adult and how you should go about life.
Okay.
Um, but I feel like I was maybe as a kid just raised as an adult already.
Mm.
I don't really know how to put that into words. Not necessarily as an adult, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Um, it's I think that's why it's so hard for me to answer this question.
Yeah.
It's because I've never really like had a conversation, and I would think, and I would say
And
that
that's okay.
with like the gay community, I didn't really start knowing anybody. Like let me think. It was probably like I think around the time when gay marriage came around is when it started really standing out a little bit more. When I started seeing
Hmm.
people
Yeah.
that were into the same sex and everything like that.
Yeah. We start
And
to see a
before that, I
lot more
never really
people. Hmm.
seen it.
Yeah.
When I was like at school, the boys
Hmm.
like the girls like the boys.
Hmm.
Everything was just straightforward like that. And with
Yeah.
me not having the conversation, I never really thought about that, or the thought never really crossed my mind it until the legalized
Hmm.
for gay marriage. And at that point, then I started seeing more couples together, and I didn't really have anything against it, really. You know, I would say probably in high school, there was a few times where I went to like a gay club and stuff like that, but it was more of like somebody was performing there.
Okay. So it's more like a
Like
queer space where
yeah, like
people are.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
for example, there was
Okay.
a club that E40 performed at, and it was a gay club.
Okay.
Um, and there was times where like there would be guys that would start hitting on me,
Yeah.
and not just in that aspect, but just during that time is when I started experiencing it more. Is
Okay.
when it started becoming more like acceptable.
Hmm.
I don't want to say too much because I don't know what it's from that side. Everything I say, I mean as respect.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a safe space. You can say,
So
I'll get you together.
and at that point, I know when like there was like guys hitting on me, I knew I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Um, I had respect for him, but I was just like, oh yeah, no, I appreciate it, but
Hmm.
no, thank you. But I did realize that I've never really been like really good friends with someone who is in the same sex,
Hmm.
Um, but I've always, whenever I did meet them,
Hmm.
like or meet people
Or
who,
come cross paths.
yeah, cross paths,
Hmm.
they they just seem like they're the just most straightforward people. Like, I mean, they just seem very straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, I had one person tell me like, "Oh, you're not gay. It's okay. I'll make you change."
Whew.
And I was like, "You probably won't, but and just things like that. Like, they were just so blunt, and
Blunt.
like I would see um them like tell people like people just telling other people like exactly how it was, no sugarcoating or anything. Like,
Hmm.
it was just straight bluntness, and I liked it. I like to see the
Yeah.
bluntness that they would
Yeah.
just give, and I was like, I respect. I like that they're just so
Yeah. That's
blunt.
called getting you together.
That-
Snatch them up. That's what that means. He got gathered.
yeah.
You ever see people get gathered?
But I think just growing up, just with the life I've had and just the experiences I've had, I've really kept my circle very small and fairly
Yeah.
the same people. So I haven't really ventured out with just different people,
Yeah.
just in general.
Hmm.
Um, like I have the same, most of my friends now I've been friends with for 6+ years.
Mm.
I mean, we're friends now,
Yeah.
we're brothers, and
We are. We're brothers.
outside of our relationship and everything, I think everyone that I've really known for, I've known for years and years and years. I
Hmm.
don't really go out and make new friends.
Hmm.
So it's really, I stay in the same community, so I don't really experience much outside of that.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, like that answers the question overall because it's like then like now you're in a different space where it's like now you have a different perspective because now you have a friend, you know,
Hmm.
ding dong, who's a part of the community and who you can learn more about people that are opposite from your orientation,
Hmm.
and that's cool.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
I would,
sorry.
I'd say my sister, she married a woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
but we don't really talk about like her. She identifies as a male,
Okay.
so he's pretty he's good. There's
Okay.
conversations my sister will
So
tell me
we
on the back
wanna
end, but
so we wanna touch that. So born female, now transition to male.
hmm
So that is a trans man. So that's your brother now. It's a
yeah,
trans. So your trans brother. Okay.
but
You understand what that means, right?
yeah. So he was, or,
She
uh,
was,
she was,
but then she was born again,
yeah,
and now she's trans
yeah,
man. Okay, got it. So you have a trans brother.
yeah.
There we go. So you're a trans brother. So now going forward, you have to say my trans brother.
Trans
If you
brother.
wanted to identify their orientation, where it's an understanding as you're
Hmm.
explaining to someone, but out of respect and love and care, trans brother.
Okay,
All right,
trans brother.
cool.
Got it. See, that's good. See,
See,
I'm
this is the
learning.
conversation, y'all. Like this is what it's all about. We gotta teach each other. Cool. So go ahead. Sorry, I
But
just
no,
had to give you that moment.
I was just saying, I appreciate you kind of letting me know and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, and I don't really think a whole lot about it. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, I'm just like, as long as you treat my sister right,
Yeah.
as long as my sister is happy,
Right.
that's all I really care about.
Yeah.
Really, I feel
Yeah.
like as long as people are happy with who they're with, that's what matters.
Yeah.
As long as people feel like they're respected with who they're with, that's what matters.
Exactly.
It's really.
And that's so much why we're having this conversation because people need to understand that. I mean, I've seen it so much coming from both sides. It's like there's just a lack of understanding,
Hmm.
and there's also a lack of conversations. And so people think that the other orientations out there in the world will not understand me because they're not me. And only people like me or people that look like me can understand me. And that's not the truth. We have to break those walls down. We have to break those barriers down. We have to break those fears down because as a human race, we all want to be understood. We all want to be loved and we all want to be accepted, you know? And so having conversations like this just kind of highlights what it looks like to just talk and have a healthy conversation
Yeah.
and also build understanding from different perspectives. And then what it ends in is love.
Yeah.
It ends in love, it ends in family, it ends in community. So
And I think,
thank you for being a part of this conversation, seriously, because I don't get to have in my life a lot of conversations like this with family members or even some of my bros from high school, you know what I'm saying? But they see me and they love me. It's that mutual respect, like my boy, you know, but it's like they see the transition, you know, and sometimes there is a conversation, sometimes there's not, you know, and a lot of times when there is a conversation, it's very short and sweet,
yeah.
you know. It's like, oh, bro, I still fuck with you, bro. Like, you know, like, thanks, bro, as you should. Nothing's changed,
Yeah.
you know. Like, I'm still the same me, you know. I may look a little prettier, but I'm still the same dog, you know. Like, I'm me. Um,
And I think an important thing I didn't say that just crossed my mind when you were
ooh,
talking.
yeah.
I've also never really seen much of a healthy relationship. So
Mm,
that's probably why I haven't thought much of a relationship, because when I saw my grandma and my grandpa together.
mm,
That I think that was the only relationship I've seen where it was healthy.
mhm,
My dad, him, and his ex-wife, they got divorced, and they separated when I was like 6 or 7.
okay.
When I moved in with my mom wasn't seeing anybody.
Mhm,
My mom was single the whole time I lived with her.
mm,
Um, for the most part, until she met my stepdad, who she's married to now, which they met, I think, my sophomore, junior year of high school.
mhm,
So was that 2010
okay.
when they
Yeah.
started dating? But outside of that, it's really just my mom and my stepdad, and then my grandma and my grandpa. For like adults that I like to,
Mhm,
those are really the only relationships I saw. So I think that's also why I haven't really thought too much of relationships as growing up, or really veered towards that.
mhm,
That's probably why a lot of my life I haven't really dated a whole lot. It's just because I just haven't really seen much healthiness in any relationship. So
mhm,
it doesn't really cross my mind to ask questions like that or
mhm.
have conversations like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into some more
Yeah,
questions.
I was gonna say we got more questions, but I just felt like I needed to put that out there. It might help out a little bit with maybe just
Yeah,
understanding.
the understanding part. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but
Do you want to ask a question?
yeah,
Okay.
um, I didn't bring my questions with me, but I do know the questions. I know the question I was gonna ask you already without even looking at the phone. Um, when when did it trying to figure out how to put this in how when did you first kind of started realizing that you were into both men and women, and how did that make you feel?
Hmm. Um. Wow. Uh. This is a deep one. Because it gets a little dark. But I'm gonna bring it on back up to the light. So at 5 years old, I was molested by a boy that was older than me. Give me fellatio. I give him fellatio. I knew that experience felt great. I loved it. I was like, oh, this is fun. 5 years old. I don't know what the hell's going on. All I knew is that experience was it was a good experience for me. After it was over, I was told by him never to speak about this. This is bad. You know, you get in big trouble if you ever say anything to an adult. Like, don't ever talk about this. Like, keep this between us. Like, this is our private thing. And that mentally fucked my mind up because I now had to keep this secret.
Mm,
And I had this experience where during the experience, I felt like, wow, this is cool. It felt great. And then after the experience is over, now I am traumatized for the rest of my life. So I always knew that that happened to me, and I could never talk about that. And I still didn't understand it because I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I got a little bit older, right around middle school, where I started to really understand and learn that, you know, being gay is not okay from my family. Um, and not necessarily like every single person in my family, but there are certain people in my family that would talk dog crap about gay people. Like, look at that F word, that faggot over there, like, or make fun of anyone that was in that community, a man wearing a dress. Like, it was like, oh, it was always this thing. Like, if you watching a movie and a man or a woman and a woman kiss each other, like, it was this, like, oh, it was always a ick, and so it was disgusting. And I remember I was watching a show. It's called like L.A. Hair or something like that. And I remember one of my family members was a male, and he saw me watching it. He goes, watching that? And I was like, yeah. He's like, And it's like, I just remember that comment alone just like let me know that like he disapproved, And so, but I didn't really fully know for myself
Mm-hmm.
until about middle school when I started to start watching porn and I started to learn, that there is gay porn.
Mm-hmm.
And I would watch it and I was like, oh crap, that's kind of a turn on. And then that from then on kind of like stayed with me. I never pursued anything. I never had an experience. I stayed pure to my religious views and to what I was taught and raised as a child, that these are abominations, these are not okay. But like the feelings and the thoughts of like, I like him and her. I like her. I could never, I always tried to push
Mm-hmm.
the liking men part away from me and focus on the women. And yeah, I've dated lots of girls and I've had a bunch of experiences, but there was still that other question. Like, what if I commit to this woman, but I'm still curious about that guy?
Mm-hmm.
That was always in my mind. So it wasn't until like middle school where I really started to realize like I'm starting to notice both. I'm starting to see both. I'm starting to find an attraction to both. It wasn't until after I was 21 and I was dating a girl and I told her that I, was interested. I told her that I fell in love with her and I was in love with her and I wanted to be with her forever. And I told her that I found men attractive as well. And she was like, all right, that's cool. Just don't ever cheat on me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, bet. That's how this is going to go? Because I thought she was going to go on Facebook and blast me and embarrass me. I always thought the worst case scenario, but I always knew for myself, I'm never going to be one of those guys that's married to a woman with children and then all of a sudden I'm caught cheating with a man. Like, or I come out or all those things. I knew I was never going to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, the moment that I finally do fall for someone that I want to spend my life with, that's the moment when I'm really going to lean into this truth. But it was a heavy burden for me because like I was afraid of what my family would think and what my Christian community would think and like just what my world of friends would think, my bros and all the things. And it was really hard, but like I knew that I wanted to be a truthful person.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wanted to be honest. And I knew I didn't want to mask my experience forever. Like,
Yeah.
it was hard doing life and going through life, always holding that in.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally like I let her know that, and she handled that with so much care. So I will always have love for her. But one thing she did tell me is like, you need to tell your mom, you need to tell your dad, like, let your family know, because it's a heavy burden.
Yeah.
And so after doing that, I felt freedom. I felt like true freedom because I this is me. And that's in that moment, that's when I was able to just really just live and just
Mm-hmm.
be and be okay with being who I am. Now I feel
Good.
saucy.
That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to really like be you, and I think that's so important. Is just being yourself and really
Yeah.
being authentic
Hmm.
and just being true to who you are,
Yeah.
and the fact that you're willing to push forward. And I hope anybody else who's going or experiencing that right now
Hmm.
has the same um, pursues it similarly, and hopefully
Yeah.
you're okay. But with regardless, just be
Yeah.
you. That's really what it's about. It's just be you. No one else can be you but you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. Well, I am going to ask you a question.
All right.
It's your turn. You're the hot seat. Um, what makes you a man?
What makes me a man? I would say what makes me a man is honestly just
I know these
a
questions are
lot.
fun.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it is just really just handling my business. Really,
Mm,
just handling business. Um,
mm,
I'm not gonna say I'm definitely not perfect. There's things that I say I'm gonna do. Sometimes I don't, but it's not intentional. But it's really just me being a man is being able to the way when I look at the mirror and I see Andre, why are you a man? I it's because I am sitting there and I am pushing for I have like the caring, like I guess watching over, I guess, kind
mm,
of protecting. I have the protective instincts.
mm,
Um, I always try, and if I say I'm going to do something, I always try to do my best to get it done,
mm,
regardless if it's at that moment or if it's later down the road. If I
mm,
can't get it done then, I'm going to try and get it done later. So a lot of being a man is just willing to stand up,
mm.
willing to take, um, just move forward. Regardless, I'm trying to like,
Yeah,
it's
accountability.
yeah, accountability,
There we go.
um, and just really just pushing, pushing forward. Really,
Hmm.
I don't really know how else to really answer
Hey,
that
that's it right
question. It's
there.
just
Yeah, you answered it. Being a man, being accountable, pushing forward. Yeah.
just kind of walking chest held high.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that anybody else can't do that and
Hmm.
be called a man, but it's just when I look at myself,
Yeah.
when I look at myself, like,
Yeah.
why is DeAndre a man? That's the
Hmm.
way I look at it.
Hmm.
That's not me looking at somebody else or anything like that. That's just the way I look at myself.
Yeah.
It's just I just want to be accountable, chest held high, do what I'm going to say I'm going to do, and just you know go through it strong willed. If I don't have not strong minded at that moment, then I'm gonna get myself to a strong minded.
Mm.
Yeah,
I resonate
that's
with
really
that. I resonate with that.
that's really in my mind just what a man is.
Yeah.
So I don't really look at when it comes to like being defined as a man or a woman. I think it could be two different definitions, but it's not really necessarily. I don't really look at it as like who you're into or like the way you were born, like how
Hmm.
you physically look.
Yeah.
I just think there's
Oof.
qualities that a man needs to do to provide for his family, and I think there's qualities that a woman needs to provide for her family, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's really what it is. I'm because I
Yeah.
was born with what I have doesn't make me a man.
Yeah.
It's about how I carry myself and how I go about things that makes me
Yes. My brother. Oh man. You are whew, fire. Fire.
a man. I would say, all right, I got a question for you.
Okay.
My next question for you is,
We're getting close on time too.
all right,
Okay.
how how was it, or how did you go about it when it came time to telling your friends and your family that you?
Um well, I didn't want to be those type of people that jump on the mountaintop like I'm gay. Woo! Like I didn't want that.
Yeah.
That was not it. For me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna tell my mom. I'm gonna tell my dad. I'm gonna tell my grandparents. Like I'm gonna tell my my closest people, my closest friends. Um, and it just was like, hey, like yo, like I just want to just like talk to you about something. It's gonna be kind of important, kind of intense, but like it's me sharing an update with you. Like, this is who I am, and this is me, and that's that. My closest cousins, my sister cousins, almost. Oh, I have to laugh at this because this pissed me the hell off. It was like, oh, we knew. We knew. My mom was like, oh, yeah, I knew that since you were 8 years old. Like, so then, like, why didn't you, like, say something to me? Sit me down and, like, because all the trauma and all the identity crises,
Hmm.
all the shaming and all the sadness and all the pain and all the agony and all the God changed me, like why am I this way? Like I would have never gone through any of that had someone sat me down and said, hey, this is what I think or believe or sense or I'm picking up. Are you interested? Do you like? None of those things ever happened.
Hmm.
The only time those things happened is when I was grown at the club or at a bar and someone would hit on me. Happens to be a guy. And they would tell me, oh, like you. And I'm like, no, 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 not me. No, hey, absolutely not. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's sense in it, like, and it was always that thing. Um, so yeah, people accepted it. They loved me more, but they also kind of like in their mind, in the back of their mind, had a feeling or a thought or something that was just like, oh, I wonder. But then some people were just like, well, he never said anything, so like that's not what it is.
Did you ever ask them how come they didn't mention anything
Oh,
to you?
absolutely.
What was what
Oh,
did
it
they
was
say?
war. I was like, excuse me, like but it was just like the thing for them was just like they wanted me. They felt like it was a disrespect, like to ask me that, you know.
Okay.
Just like you see a woman that looks pregnant, you don't say, "Oh my God, how many months are you?" It's like almost like that. Like what? I'm having gut issues. I'm not pregnant. Like that can be offensive.
Yeah.
And for some people, that was really offensive. And it's still a sensitive conversation, a
Hmm.
sensitive topic. I think we're at 2024, heading into 2025. It's not as sensitive anymore.
Yeah.
Like you got kids in elementary school, that are a part of the same sex community, which is crazy. Is but isn't like this. I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's just more of a thing now, and it's more accepted because the world is changing. We're progressing, we're growing, and we're realizing that some things that we believed is just not really what is reality,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Um, but yeah, it wasn't really hard for me. I mean, I always wanted to be just moral compass as a man. When we talk about manhood and what that means to you, what that means to me is always being honest, telling the truth. Growing up, I dealt with a lot of lies, um, a lot of lies,
Hmm.
and growing up, I realized that I was lied to a lot. And so, for me, one of the biggest things in my identity is just being honest, and even if it's comes with a lot of pain and shame. Like I'd rather go through that than just not be honest. So
Yeah.
that's that. Think we got to wrap it up soon.
We do. I think we still got. We start. I think we still got like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we started at like '07 or
Started 7:05.
7:05.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I say, should we hit the last question?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Because we both can answer this one. Oh, I love this one. Okay. How we use or view our sexuality as gifts. How, DeAndre, do you use or view your sexuality as a gift? Hmm. I wrote that question down.
how how do I use my sexuality as a gift? I think it really ties really similarly to what my definition of a man is, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Um, Being there for, um, my family, standing up, you know, knowing right from wrong, following through with what I'm going to say. Um, I think a lot of it is how to use your sexuality as a gift. It's really about just, because I identify myself as a man.
Mm-hmm.
So first, when I identify myself as a man, is why do I identify myself as a man?
Mm-hmm.
Identify myself as a man as I just answered to you when you asked me, how do I, why do what's my definition of a man.
Mm-hmm.
So really, how I think I can use my gifts is just sticking to what I think a definition of a man is, and be the representation of that, and not just be the representation of that for myself, but be a representation of that for future generations that are coming after me, and just letting them see what it's like to be a man, and what it's like to stand up on a foundation for what's right.
I like that.
Being of strength.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I was a little bit of I was a pushover, but I wasn't a man during that time. You know, I was still trying to figure myself out and everything. But now people will mistake me as a pushover because there's some times where I don't speak up, but a lot of it's me not speaking up because I'm trying not to be rude, and the only way I know that I try to come. The way I like to go about things when I have, what do you call that? You know, when I have pushback.
Okay.
That's not the exact word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But it's the definition of what I'm trying to say. When I have pushback, I don't always talk right away. Sometimes I stay silent. And sometimes I just let the person talk. But I know the words that I'm going to say, people are going to take. So I've come to a point to where I like to process my thoughts before I say them. Because if I say it, I want to mean it.
Yeah.
Sometimes my emotions get the best of me and I start speaking some like crazy, but that's just the heat of the moment. I'm feeling. But for the most part, I like to take a step back
and reflect.
Before I come back to you, because I really want people to understand where I'm coming from, versus just going back and forth. Because if you sit there and argue, you're just talking off of emotion. That's where people are like, oh, I'm sorry I said this. I'm sorry I said that. Okay, well, you still said it. I don't want to sit there and apologize for what I said.
Yeah.
Everything I say, I mean, but I want to come to it to where it's at a point where you can listen, versus you just think I'm yelling and you're not listening to anything I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
So
I respect that.
But yeah, but at the end of the day, that kind of went off track a little bit, but
back to the
I
gift.
use my gifts of just sticking with what I do as what I think a man is supposed to be, and just representing it the way I know to represent it, not for myself, but for future generations to come. And not even my generation, but just other generations. You know, when you're walking out and you're out and about, living your life, people look at you.
Oh, yeah.
People see the stuff that you're doing. People see the decisions that you're making. And not everybody has experienced things that you experience, but everyone, we live in a society full of judgment. Everyone judges each other.
Yeah.
But if I can sit there and I can stand on a good ground and I can be the man that I think a man should be, then somebody else, maybe if I'm in a grocery store and someone's way down the hall or down the aisle, and they see me, but I don't see them seeing me, but I do something that really touches them, and then they go on about their day and I go on about my day, and that allowed them to be different or carry themselves better, or even realize something. Maybe I was bumping heads with somebody, and they saw it, and maybe they saw that I didn't instantly come at them or something, just little things like that. So I think those are gifts, because I feel like gifts aren't always needed to be said. It can always be seen. But yeah, so that's how I carry my gifts as a man.
Nice. Okay, I like that.
But
for me,
yeah. Sorry, I forgot the question.
Oh, no.
I went on a little bit of a ramble.
That's okay.
I know it's carry your gifts.
I'm gonna sum this up quickly. How we use or view our sexuality as a gift. How I view my sexuality as a gift is, I think I was born by the Creator with intention and purpose. I think that I was born to be a leader. I think I was born to be a prophet. I think I was born to be a caregiver, a caretaker, and I also think I was born to be an example and a light. So because I think that, and because I've had experiences in my life in all those different categories where that has been what I've been used or pulled or propelled to do, I think that my sexuality is a part of that as well. I think that I'm supposed to be someone that is different with the intention and the purpose of experiencing the love and the respect and the acceptance in the community that I do have and experience today. And I think that that's supposed to be something that I show others, because there's still people that are struggling with who they are, struggling with what they feel, struggling with how they will present themselves, and struggling with acceptance. And then they see someone like me, and I bring that freedom, that
Mhm.
that aspiration to be like, that influence, that motivation, that like I can look like that
Mhm.
in my own way, in my own skin, in my own image, and I can receive love, and I can have friends, and I can be a part of any community, whether that's a gospel church community or a freaking whatever, whatever community. I have been blessed to know a lot of people, and some of the most high up statuses, some of the most low statuses, and everything in between. And I mean, my name is good on every boulevard, but I think it's because not who I am or how I present myself, it's because of the character that lives inside of me. It's because of the destiny that lives inside of me. It's because I was born to be a light. And I don't always feel like a light. I don't always think that I am a light, but at the end of the day, like I know the value that I have within myself, and I view my sexuality as a gift because it does allow people to see freedom and to experience freedom through me. And I think that more people need to talk about things like this.
Mhm.
They need to have conversations like this, and they need to be authentic, because what it does is it heals the world. And there's generations that are coming up behind us. I'm finally blessed at the age now where I have a niece and a nephew on the way, and other nieces and nephews running around. Where it's like, they're gonna have to learn, you know, this world.
Mhm.
And for me growing up, this world was very difficult, and so I want them to see Uncle Ty, and I want them to be proud of the man that Uncle Ty is, and also fully know who Uncle Ty is and have an understanding of who I am. So that way they can respect their peers and respect people that are different than who they are. Because everyone, as I said last week and the week before that, we all have our own signature DNA, and we're all different, and we all are different for a purpose and for a cause. And so when you live into who you are and discover who you are and become who you are, then you're living your purpose. You're living your purpose. And so
That's what
that's
life is
why,
about.
yeah, yeah, that's why this conversation was very important, dear to my heart, and also yours too. Like it was something that like we wanted to talk about, because it's just like, men need to understand that we all are different, but we all are one. And the only way we're ever able or going to become one community is when we start to put down those barriers and those walls or those false imaginations or thoughts or judgmental views and values, and just allow people to just be themselves and be who they are, and receive them. Come.
I think that's so important because so many people carry, there's so much just in general that people take from the
Hmm.
past and they
Hmm.
try and bring the past to today. But today is
Make
not
America great again.
today. Today is not today is not 30 years ago. Today isn't 50 years ago.
It's not.
It is 2000. It is November 2024.
That's right.
It is not November of 1965. November 1965 is a lot different than November 2024, and I think that's what society struggles with, and that's why so many people fight, is because
Hmm.
so many people are bringing a different time
Hmm.
into today's time, to where
Yeah.
you just need to, things are going to change as years go on. You have to
Yeah.
learn to, it's about adapting,
Yeah.
but staying true to
To
who you
who
are.
you are. Woo! That's it right there, brother. That is it right there. Wow, well, I think that's it for this
Man, that time went
episode.
by so
It
fast.
sure did. I did not think I was nervous. I was like, I don't know how we gonna do this.
I know. I still not. I know. I was a little bit too. Not gonna lie. And I was like, I've never been asking these questions. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm glad we had this conversation.
Hmm.
I think it's very important. It's a very important conversation to have that's not talked about a whole lot, especially coming from different walks, just from our experiences,
Yeah.
from two different experiences and everything, and we're a representation, saying that this conversation can be
Yeah.
held in a calmly manner.
Exactly.
We can be respectful of each other, and
Exactly.
we can discuss things like this. Because honestly, I feel like you can discuss anything in a peaceful mind. It's just a matter of how are you going about it into that conversation.
Exactly.
Are you going with a hard heart? Are you going in with not willing to hear any other perspective outside of your own? That's when you start butting heads. But you have to be willing to open, because again, like you were saying, we all have different genetics. We all have different DNA. You're never going to have the same story as someone else. So you have to be willing to stop just looking at yourself and be willing to hear what other people have to say. And listening to other people, what they have to say, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow how they live their life.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't.
Or agree with it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't gotta agree, but it's just like, understand that, like,
it's okay to not agree. It's okay to have a conversation where you don't agree or you don't understand each other. I don't like to say agree. I like to say don't understand a little bit. Okay. Depending on the conversation, if you say don't agree, some people will take it as, oh, I don't agree, so I have to tell you why. Versus like understand. Like, I don't understand. I respect, but I just don't understand.
Okay. I like that.
But yeah, I just think we're all doing life together.
That's right.
We need to learn to be able to walk side by side together. We're humans. I mean, I'm about to say the same thing as I did a couple episodes, within the last few episodes. We're humans. We're meant to live life together. But if you have a hard heart and you're not willing to hear different perspectives, then you're living your life by yourself. And that's no way. That's where depression, that's where you start falling into a road that you just don't want to go down. And then you get lost, and then you lose who you are. And that's where you don't want to live your life with regrets. That's the one thing I always tell myself. I refuse, whenever my life comes, whenever I'm about to have my last couple heartbeats, I refuse to say I regret one thing. I'm not going to regret one thing in my life. I will make sure that doesn't happen. But we're meant to live life together. That's really, I'm not going to tangent on because I will. But yeah.
Yes.
It's just, we just need each other.
We do.
No matter if you're someone out there that's listening right now and you think, I don't need anybody. I can walk through it on your own. No, that's not true. It's not.
No.
You may think that now, but it's going to hurt you in the long run. And whether you don't see that now, you're gonna learn that later.
You're gonna learn later, the hard way.
Yeah.
We're trying to soften the road for you.
But that's what I gotta say. Is there anything you gotta leave our friends with or anything?
I just gotta say thank you. If you made it through this whole hour, thank you. Thank you for being a friend and a human and just a fan or whatever you are. You're our friend. You're part of our community. Thank you for sitting through this conversation and just listening to two perspectives and listening to how we touch these conversations and these topics, but build a sense of
community.
Thank you. Okay, build a sense of community. I was like, come on now, Tiger. But yeah, build a sense of community. We really just wanted to, have a conversation like this that's not normal for the everyday bisexual straight man. But we wanted to do this and publicly also, so to just show you guys that like these conversations can be healthy, and what it does is it builds community. And so I just want to say thank you. That's all I got. Anything you got, brother?
If you're still listening to us, I want to thank the viewers that are reaching out.
Yes, thank you guys.
We do hear you guys.
We do.
We appreciate you guys following each episode, listening to each. We're going to start, we were discussing, and we're going to start dropping episodes Tuesdays at 6 p.m.
Yes.
So
uh-huh.
I know it was Mondays previously,
Yeah.
but we come to the agreement that we think Tuesdays are going to work the best.
Mm-hmm.
So Tuesdays at 6, they will start dropping. So that is going to be consistent moving forward. But we're looking forward to continuing on with these very important conversations and just addressing just more things in the future, later episodes and next seasons and things like that. Because there's all kinds of topics that need to be talked about today. But we just want to thank each and every one of you of sticking through us. And we're feeling saucy, and feeling saucy is just getting started.
It is. Thank you for being a part of this Feeling Saucy community. We love you and we bless you. And I got to go to the bathroom. So thank you. All right.